The following program is sponsored by The Greek, Ely's Radio Shack dealer at 570 Altman in downtown Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Georgetown Media in Ely, Nevada. Special joint meeting of the Ely City Council, White Pine County Commission, and the White Pine County Board of Public Health, May 7th, 2020.
Yours?
This one.
Good.
Oh, come on.
Would
you like this?
I was just calling you, Mike.
Did you
That phone message is me.
Oh, is that what that was?
Are you guys all ready? Is everybody ready? It's 5 o'clock. I'm ready.
Rock and roll.
Wait, yeah, I was gonna say, give Mike a chance.
Good evening and welcome to the special meeting of May the 8th. It's a joint meeting between the White Pine County Commission, Ely City Council, and the White Pine County Board of Public Health. And the first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all please stand? Jim, why don't you lead us in prayer?
My honor. Please follow me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, as per the norm, please turn your phones off if you've got one. And the other item that we do at a regular county commission meeting is the first moment is for private silence, meditation, prayer, whatever you like. So we take the first moment of silence, please. Okay. We have to adhere to the 10 people in the meeting, so I think we've got, how many we got, Mike?
We have 11. I'll step out in case I just want to make public comment, and then after public comment, I can come back in. Or we have to stop the meeting and reschedule.
Okay. So Mike will leave the room. We have 10 in the room, so we're going to be going right away to public comment. And in the first part of public comment, I'll ask you, is there anybody on the phone with public comment? Do you have anybody in mind?
No, sir.
Okay. Is anyone in the room who would like to speak to public comment? Please come forward. Ron, you or Tammy got anything to say in public comment? Okay, George, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor. Gentlemen and ladies, at the last Tourism Direct Board meeting, the director claimed and expressed a concern that while I chastise the Main Street program signage, I have not done anything to remove the F word off of a retaining wall located approximately a block away from the convention center. Nothing was said for years until I bought the property, and I erased that offensive word almost 2 years ago. I don't know where they're coming from. His and your concern should focus on the north end of town where there are junkyards depicting New Age art. The art is located in the sidewalk area and not private property. It impedes pedestrians and ADA access on the public sidewalk. Is your building inspector ever make it back from Eureka? You guys gonna allow this kind of art to keep going? The new stuff is in the walkway. Now my rules, ADA says it must be clear. You either have rules or you don't. When you come after me for a so-called sign that I took down 2 years ago, that's not going to sit well. Not at all. The building inspector's yet to give me a building permit to remove it from my property, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm asking you to give me a total so I can give you a check. I've been up to City Hall numerous times and I've not received anything. And I've been specific in asking, tired of waiting. I'm not building anything new, I'm just re-roofing. I've got properties that I'm not allowed to use by the building inspector who's selectively enforcing the law. Others around me are using their property. Again, does the city, county have some kind of regulation that will not allow naturalized citizens, ethnic minorities, veterans, those with disabilities, or senior citizens from conducting business as others do? If you have that policy, I want a copy of it. Gentlemen, I want to remind you, ladies, that Keith Carson's put a modular home in his trailer park, which is not up to code. Modular homes are not allowed in trailer parks. I couldn't put a modular home on one of my lots, which are considerably wider than those at that Carson trailer park. He is not in compliance and is in violation of the trailer ordinance. I've lost 2 tenants that were issued citations for so-called violations. $355 fine. Why the discrimination? Where's your building inspector? Is he still in Eureka? Does he still have the city county truck over there with his wife? Either you have rules and regulations or you don't, folks.
George, that's your 3 minutes. Thank you.
I'll be back.
Okay.
We do have another one from
Yep.
Suzanne Ferguson.
Who is it, Suzanne? Who?
It's just from the gospel
Okay.
that night.
Please, Suzanne, go ahead and speak to public comment.
Thank you. Yes, this is Suzanne Featherston.
No volume.
Bald Mountain Mine. Thanks for allowing me to speak. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to give a brief update on Kinross Bald Mountain's operations. I wanted to let the commissioners know and the city council know, as does my daughter Mariah, that we continue to operate with rigorous precautions in place to help our employees and communities stay safe. We have had no confirmed cases of COVID-19 at Bald Mountain Mine as of today and are continuously tracking it. Some of the measures that we've taken to keep everyone safe and the site clean are increased frequency of cleaning and disinfection of the site, encouraging hand washing and social distancing. We have frequent communications about the status of COVID-19. No travel has been permitted, no non-essential business travel. Additionally, we have questionnaires that we're asking all of our employees to fill out upon return from their rotation. We're doing the same for contractors who visit the site, and no non-essential visitors are allowed to visit. Additionally, we've been checking employees' temperatures at the bus stops in the Elko and Spring Creek stations before they're allowed onto the bus. And for the Ely employees, they're checked at the mine gates before being admitted, just to ensure that no one has a fever. On the buses have been disinfected and the capacity has been reduced to 40 to 50% of what it was before. And those on the bus are socially distanced. Additionally, we have established detailed plans to manage any positive cases should one occur at the site. Just wanted to give you that update and again reiterate, we haven't had any cases on the site and we're taking every measure we can to ensure that our employees and our communities stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else on the telephone?
No, sir.
Anyone else in the audience? I'd like to make just a brief public comment, and it is going to be concerning our agenda today. It's because of the action yesterday taken by the White Pine County Commission when we tabled our decision to open some of the parks, swimming pool and whatnot. We tabled it for a reason. The reason was we wanted to hear from the governor about his opening. We felt it only right that we allow him his voice and not jump the gun and open up everything and then be turned away 1 or 2 days later. And I want to thank everyone on our commission. It was a unanimous vote. We did that, and what happened? One day later, this afternoon, the governor was on, soft opened everything, almost in compliance 100% with what we had in mind. So that being said, I'd like to pat the commission on the back for doing the right thing. We hesitated. It took one day. The governor came out. He issued his proclamation at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and we'll be discussing that today. So I wanted that to be put out in the public because I'm a little bit tired of hearing naysayers out there who haven't been to a meeting, who jump the gun about how these commissions, and even the city council as well, they jump us without even knowing the facts. So those are the facts, and I'm very happy to say we did the right thing. So thank you very much. And if there's anybody else that would like to make a public comment in this forum,
Thank the governor.
I'm going to do that. Now we're getting ready to open the meeting. Would you mention to Mike, because Mike should be here during the meeting. He's our
Yeah.
legal counsel. So if one,
I'll
we
go
can
get
only,
him.
Ron, Tammy, we can only have 10 in the building,
George, I'll
so
go get him.
one person will
I
have
don't
to
mind
go.
him.
No, we're,
That's,
it's all right, I can see where this is
Mike out there? Yeah. And also at this moment, I'd like to thank the city council for joining us in this joint meeting today. We'll go ahead and start the meeting with the,
Just, do we have, I'm sorry, David, do we have enough to where we have a quorum? Everybody is in here that should be here.
let's make sure that, ask Travis and Ian and Shane, are you guys on the phone?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay. And you guys do have a forum, so.
I know he's on
Oh.
board, but he's on the thing.
Yes, Jennifer?
Councilman Spear is in my office.
Okay, we have a quorum on both parties. Okay, that being said, on page 2, item 1, is discussion update on the governor's roadmap to recovery. Local Empowerment Advisory Board Panel, LEAP, L-E-A-P, findings and recommendations, as well as status on the governor's plan as it pertains to the city of Ely and the White Pine County communities. Mike, you listened to the governor today. Would you like to kind of give us an
Yeah.
update on that?
Thank you. This was the governor's plan that he had requested and appointed a couple individuals on Friday, last Thursday, actually, to get some information together to provide to his office so that he can formulate the plan that he announced a couple hours ago. JJ Kokachia from Eureka, Marilyn Patrick from Clark County, and Dagny at NACO were some of those members on this team. Right away on Friday, the county put together all the information they requested. Basically, they wanted to know more. It wasn't so much about a business plan or how we're gonna do anything like that. They wanted to know more about how many masks, gloves, goggles, what our capacity at the hospital, how we trace cases, how we quarantine. They wanted to know how prepared we were to open and handle should there be any kind of positive cases going on, as well as some history about the county and what kind of cases we had for our community. So that was put in a letter and sent off to the governor right away on Friday, and that kind of led, I believe, to some of his recommendations and his orders that he made today. So that's pretty much the update. Some of the stuff that you're gonna see on the agenda, you know, it was seen pretty relevant a few days ago, but now after the governor's announcement today, I don't know how much it's worth talking about some of the stuff, because the governor kind of laid out a new direction for us already, so. Anyway, that's the update.
Does anyone from the city have anything they'd like to bring up with what the governor said today in case others didn't hear it? Or is there some input that maybe anyone that you might have that you heard what he said that you might, before we go into the next item, you want to speak about LEAP or anything else?
Yeah, and the discussion more about what the governor said today would probably be fit better on the next item.
I got you.
But as to LEAP, if there were any specific questions about, you know, where our county stands with being prepared to open and do some of these things. You know, we can answer that, and I can answer it individually as well after the meeting. Any emails to my office about that stuff, we can handle it.
Were there any updates with Matt or from the state on what they're gonna be requiring for testing going forward, or any plan on that?
No,
That still hasn't come out yet?
no, it has not.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing new yet on antibody tests. I mean, the governor alluded to something today, but we don't have them, so,
They haven't got any more direction at the hospital yet?
no.
Are they waiting for them to become more reliable?
I don't know. I think it's actually physically having the ones that have been reliable. We just, no one's making them fast enough, and if they are made, they're going to New York City, not here.
So on item 2, when we discuss what the governor did today, should we kind of touch on what we spoke to now?
No, I think on item 2 would be more
Okay.
appropriate.
That'd be fine. Everybody okay with that?
I just want to, the city council, do they have any questions at all? I imagine you've been copied of just about everything that's gone out, as far as the hospital, and how many testings that we've done. Some of you have listened to the radio, and you have the updates. Could ask them to,
No, Mike's working on it.
oh, okay,
You're good.
thank you. You know, I just didn't know if you guys had any other questions, or concerns as to what's.
Any other questions from the council?
Not for me.
Okay, anybody else, anyone? Okay, that was a discussion and update on LEAP and how we got to this point and how the governor's findings are going to be. So we're gonna go on if there's.
Dr. Gunn here.
Yes, doctor?
Lori, do you still want me to go over the framework of the roadmap?
No, I don't think so, Dr. Vian. After the governor today, I think that is probably a moot point. I think what you've had in place before, so far as soft opening, will lead us into our next agenda item. And I think that we're probably good to go there. We've not had any more cases.
And doctor, if you'd hang on the phone as we're going into our next agenda item, which is the discussion of the logistics and the concepts. And I'd like to hear from you at the end if maybe somebody on the panel has a question for you. So could you hang tight until we get to the next item?
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, without any further questions on the discussion and the update, we're gonna go on to item 2. Item 2 is discussion possible action to discuss and draft the logistics and the concepts of a cohesive plan to reopen businesses contingent on Governor Sisolak's granting individual regions the authority to implement reopening plans consistent with public health officer's opinion. Discussions shall be limited to non-essential businesses, food establishments, and other businesses currently subject to the closure directives issued by the governor. Okay, Mike, why don't we all heard it, but maybe you could be a little more articulate and kind of go over it.
Yeah, so on this item, it was agended in such a way that in case, we didn't know what direction the governor was gonna go. Was he gonna do anything at all before this meeting? Was he gonna turn some control back to the locals to regulate? Because he had hinted a lot, in a lot of his statements publicly, that he was gonna return control to the cities and counties and the state to manage the situation. And so we were trying to have an agenda item so we can discuss that, come up with a plan, and figure out where we're going as a community. He kind of threw a curveball today, which is a good one, I think. You know, he's going a different direction. He hasn't turned over really any authority or powers to the counties or cities to do anything looser than he's recommended. He just gave us the opportunity that we've always had to implement stricter policies and directives if we need it. So we could spend some time and discuss a plan right now, but it's not really necessary, I don't think, because the governor laid out a plan already with what he wants to see open and what he wants to remain closed. And unfortunately, there are still some closures that affect this community, and I don't know if it's really worth discussing how we want to encourage those businesses to open, because as the governor said in his statement today, he has his task force and the attorney generals are out enforcing his closure directives probably in the state. So I think it'd be probably better use of our time under this agenda item to discuss those things, any questions we have that his directives today don't cover, or it's not clear if they cover, or if there's something else that falls outside that we can control or discuss as a joint community so we're consistent? Or, because there's probably some business owners listening who fall maybe outside that I haven't thought of yet. Maybe fall outside of the governor's directives and we need to talk about it today. So I think that'd be a better use of time under this agenda, to the extent that we can talk about what else outside of that plan.
What we had into our plan was the parks, the playgrounds, and the swimming pool. I listened to him, he never said anything about swimming pools, but and you can help me or whatever. I don't know if that would fall into the category of fitness centers and yoga and other exercise type things that he said would not be open.
That's a good example of it, kind of an ambiguity. He did say recreation centers and community centers, which our pool probably falls, it's probably pretty close to one of those kind of situations. And so, I don't know, Dr. Buhner recommended we might be able to do lap swimming by appointment only, but that's something, that's a good example of what you guys want to discuss as a board. Governor's directives probably wants to keep that closed through this first phase.
The language in the release here says local government shall continue limiting the general public's use of shared recreational equipment, including playground equipment, basketball courts, volleyball courts, baseball fields, beaches, or football fields in a manner that causes the congregation of 10 or more persons in a manner contrary to best COVID-19 disease mitigation and social distancing practices.
Yes.
So,
He used the word limit, and he also brought up the 10 capacity. So there could be, if we really wanted to push it, if it was really worth pushing it, we could probably come up with some sort of policy to do some sort of appointment only on certain things. I don't know if we want to go down that road today, but that's something to talk about.
I'd like to ask the mayor, you issued a directive about a week ago that the city would be shut down until May 31st.
city offices.
City offices then, is that gonna stand now, or are you going to relax that?
Discussing that with city staff prior to, the general feeling was that we would continue that through the 31st to give us time to, implement the measures and things like that. Most of that executive order contained things limiting gatherings more than 10, which is still in place. So I believe we would continue to do that until the 31st unless we receive different direction from the council.
Anyone else got a question, Mike, or anyone of us might be able to answer, even Dr. Bian, who's on the phone, and we'll certainly be getting his input in just a moment, but anybody else that's at this meeting or any other commissioners or councilmen that are on the Zoom that would like to chime in and ask a question or try to get a little more clarity or maybe help you out?
If I could,
Yes, Jim, go ahead.
this roadmap to recovery for Nevada, which was given to us by our attorney, is this what we're having the,
That's what just came out today.
okay, so is this gonna be somewhere where the public can get it? For those not, is it a social media, no doubt,
I mean, we'll put it on our website and start getting it out to the sheriff's office so that they can give it to businesses, but
because the one question Mike was talking about, it says right there, businesses to remain closed, like leisure entertainment, including public pools. So I think that's the direction. So is this, and I'll just say, is
recreation
this
and
the,
community centers.
is this the Bible that we're gonna live with?
And if I may, Jim, this document is, it was posted to the governor's website about probably 4:45, and I printed it off real quick for myself and the mayor, but I gave you mine.
Okay, thank you.
So we can't post it on our website, it was time sensitive.
We would assume that there's an
provide it,
executive order that would accompany.
It would, the executive, or a directive, I'm just assuming he will sign and have posted. I'm assuming tomorrow. He's been pretty diligent in the past ones within a day or so.
Because this is nice, but it's not a legal document.
It's not a legal document, it's guidelines in as easy to understand form as can be.
Well, I like that, it's a guideline, that's good to know. I just think that we should have some printed copies somewhere people can get that are not on the social media thing, because this answers a lot of questions. And my other question on this, as I just briefly looked at this in a few minutes, is, and I say this just, and then maybe Mike can answer this, how are we gonna be uniform on enforcement of this? Because I can see if, here it is, businesses, hey, so-and-so's got 12 people in there, I got 15, there's a whole gathering, in a bounce house or whatever. How is the enforcement of this gonna happen? I can see people ratting each other out, tattletaling, and then you start a whole big to-do. What's the plan, or I don't know if the sheriff's online or not.
I think the guideline, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just, from this and from listening to the thing, the limit on businesses is half of their occupancy permit.
Right.
So if a business, for example, has an occupancy permit of 24 people, they can have 12 people in there. We can't have gatherings of more than 10. So are 12 people in a grocery store a gathering, or is that just 12 people who happen to be, I know,
So-
we're splitting hairs here.
No, I think for the time being, until May 30th, when his order is gonna expire, and I'm glad you brought that, 'cause I hadn't even seen that yet. And so that's a good example that there's gonna be more in there and in his directive than what he talked about today on TV, more detailed. But when you're talking about occupancy, that's occupancy, every business has an occupancy label, should have an occupancy label for that building in that business posted, or at least decided by the fire marshal, right? So if they exceed that occupancy, what would, and generally speaking, outside of this emergency, if they exceed that occupancy, what would the city do for enforcement on that?
If it's a habitual thing, that would be different than, oh, this happened for 5 minutes one day.
I understand, but what would the remedy normally be? I mean, don't they get in trouble with their business license?
They would get some kind of notice and orders, I would assume, from our building department.
I suggest we,
Or from the fire marshal, or from the sheriff.
or from the sheriff, I suggest we follow the same protocol that we would normally, it's just our occupancy levels have been reduced under this directive, and we just, the sheriff can go down, do a head count, talk to the business owner, file a report with the city can follow up. I mean, it's, to be clear, no one, I understand there's gonna be people ratting each other out, and the problem is, this is not normally a bad thing, right, to have people in our businesses. It's just over the next couple of weeks, we just wanna encourage compliance as best as possible and not rat each other out necessarily, but, understand that everyone's trying to comply, and if it is a habitual compliance issue, then the sheriff will go by and talk to that business owner, and then the city has remedies. And I say the cities, because most of our businesses that have a lot of people in them are within the city limits, so. I think that'd be my recommendation, just follow the normal, be consistent with how as we would with any other business law that you guys are implementing.
Well, and that's been our MO in my discussions with Sheriff Hemorrhoid and the district attorney and the city attorney, is that we want to avoid crossing over the line into citation and litigation. We really want to be in the mode of respond and inform.
Right.
So I'd like to stay in that kind of.
And once again, I'll be the devil's advocate, that's a bad thing to say, and I'm gonna say this,
The angel's advocate.
angel's advocate. Over this last weekend, a church opened up. And about house, I got numerous calls out, what are you gonna do, Mr. Councilman? I'm not doing nothing, I'm not in law enforcement. So there again,
Well, I believe the sheriff responded there, and just like we talked about, he responded and informed. There was no citation. I mean, in that situation, who do you cite? The 11th person that showed up? The person who advertised it? It's just a quagmire, as you can see. But I think our best, and like we've talked about too, I think by and large, most of our citizens and businesses have complied and been diligent about this. There will always be a few here and there, and responding and informing and doing our best to make sure people are acting in the best interest of their community, I think is about the best place to be.
Some of these businesses are gonna have to adapt and some of the bigger businesses might have to allocate some man hours, which is not good right now, to counting people entering and leaving so that they can maintain that occupancy. And what they do, at least they've been doing this out of state in Utah a lot. They'll just hold you for a second. They'll say, and people are waiting in the parking lots, Sportsman's Warehouse or Costco or
They'll count
Walmart
the
or
number of
whatever.
people who went in.
And they just hold them, and then as 2 people leave, they'll let 2 more people in. And it's a terrible thing, but that's that's the framework the governor has placed us in over the next couple of weeks. And the only counsel we can give to our businesses is, look, the last thing we wanna do is slide backwards on this thing, have non-compliance issues across the state where he's sending his attorney generals and their inspectors and state police and their health inspectors out, because they're doing that. I'll tell you right now, they're doing it in other communities who are trying to test the system. We don't wanna slide backwards and prolong whatever phase this is, however long this is gonna be. But, I don't know, it's super frustrating right now. None of us want to enforce these laws. If there's some compliance issues, I think the report should be filed with the city for businesses and other individuals. Those reports will come to the county or city depending on where they're at, if they're violating some of these orders. And we can either look at them for prosecution locally, or we can refer them to the Attorney General's office for prosecution of their directives. They say